if you think of the music world as a ladder, I was missing reams in the ladder. I was like, I can see where I want to go, but there are places in between where my foot is and where my arm can reach that I can't go high enough to, and no one's giving me the answer to that.
Welcome to Becoming Better with Jeff Ponders. We deal with who we are, where we've been, where we're going, and who we're becoming to get there. It's time to leave your ego at the door and deal with real life. It's time to become better. This is the Become Better podcast where we talk about who we are, where we've been, where we want to go, and who we're becoming to get there. I am honored to have my friend, my brother, my partner, Justin JayNorm Norman in the building. Justin, man, your story is crazy.
It's weird.
It's a little weird. We're gonna talk about it, but let me see if I can check. Let me see if I can check enough of the boxes of who you've been in life. Globally recognized creative director. Yep. Let's see, entrepreneur. Yep. Music producer. Yep. Purveyor of beautiful things. A little bit.
Sure.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Man of the culture.
Yep.
Crazy beard.
I'm getting there. I wanted to be crazier. I told you I want the salt and pepper thing. I'm serious about this.
But that's just time. That's like
sure. That's still my goal. I'm a goal-oriented person.
You are a goal-oriented person. You're like, my beard ain't crazy until I have enough white to balance out.
I'm like Cornell West out here with the joint. You feel me?
So, man with an awesome beard, bouncer.
For a second, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What am I missing? I'm missing something.
It's a lot. I was a very bad DJ for a second, and then that turned to producing, and then I was a songwriter. So I got signed as a songwriter.
That's right.
Yeah, all that stuff. I've been a little bit of everything.
Man, so you're a Renaissance man.
Sure.
Plug. You went to Renaissance High School in Detroit. All of that.
Phoenixes. What up though?
That's right. So with this man, with all this culture, this talent, you smart. Wait, hold up. Wait, did you drop out of college?
Yeah.
Okay, and college dropout.
Yeah.
But like it's done all these amazing things. Kanye West dropped out of college too, but you're not.
Don't call me Kanye.
You're not Kanye.
Love you, Kanye. I understand, but it's weird. Like you've done all the weird things. Sure.
Hey, you've done awesome things in life.
Yeah.
So where did it all come from, though? Like I know you're old. Like your big brother. Like how did you become who you are? Like where did you originate from?
I grew up on every side of Detroit. No, for real. I'm one of those. My family. Well, I'm an automotive baby, as most people from Detroit tend to be. Almost ended up fourth generation auto guy.
Did you almost do that?
Yeah, I almost did. I went to CCS, which is College for Creative Studies here in Detroit. Originally, I was going to go into the automotive design program. So you start off by drawing all the circles and all this stuff, but I think my great granddad, my granddad, and my dad all ended up at Chrysler or GM at some point. And I think I'm the first. Me and my brothers were the first ones to go kind of outside of that. And so from there, my dad was friends with all of the house DJs growing up. So like. Really? I had met Carl Craig when I was a kid. Like I met Kevin Saunderson. So the people who made up techno, I had been like to their houses when I was a kid at one point. My dad used to throw parties in the 80s.
Dude, how did it? Okay.
Yeah. So like I would find these flyers. My dad's name is Jeff. Jefferoni was like what he went by when he just throw parties back in the day.
Please don't ever.
Oh no, because I could. No. I grew up hearing all of this music in the basement. Word. He had like a few thousand records downstairs, like stacks of CDs, and so I wanted to be a DJ.
This makes sense.
And that's what got me into the media, if you want to call it, thought process.
Word.
Because it started off as me. We are of the first real generation that understood the internet.
Yep. And
so being a DJ didn't mean grabbing two decks and trying to get, residency at a club. For me I think it was 13 when I started taking this serious, it was making a website and trying to put remixes on. Like at the time it was Hypebeast was a baby, not Hypebeast, but what was it called? oh, people are gonna kill me for this. There was like a remixes website that used to exist. Hype Machine.
Yep.
Hype Machine was the name of it, and I just wanted to be on Hype Machine really bad.
Word.
And then Bandcamp came out, and then I was like, oh, I gotta make a Bandcamp. And I had a MySpace when MySpace Music
MySpace
came
Music?
up. Yeah,
You had a profile?
I had a profile. I used to go by DJ Profit back in the day. So bad. I was the worst DJ.
I kind of want to hear some of these mixes now.
You don't. But the one thing that did work was that I was good at making the music that went into the remix. So I was worse at actually mixing two existing things.
Got it.
But when I made my own thing, people were like, yo, what's that? I was like, oh, okay. So a buddy of mine from around the corner had a copy of Fruity Loops, like Fruity Loops 2. Mind you, anybody who knows about music, but they're on, I think, 13
Yep.
now. This is like the second beta on a mini disc. Do you remember the little tiny CDs? You had to have a special CD player to play.
I still have mini discs at my crib. Actually, no, they're at my parents' house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So MTV came out with a beat maker in the early 2000s where you could like take blocks of pre-made loops and make beats.
Yep.
And so I started there and then ended up with that. With that first copy of Fruity Loops. And then that was the beginning. And through that, I got into advertising and all those other things.
Wait, so music is what got you into the...
Because I was trying to market myself. So, and all of that, between that and my journalism class in school, I found out about graphic design for real at the Free Press because I was making my own flyers and my own website for my music stuff.
Wait, so design, like, I mean, you went to CCS for automotive design, but design wasn't the passion back. Like, it wasn't like, I like drawing and sketching, I want to be a designer.
No, I left CCS to try to go to New York to be a producer. So I wanted to be a musician. And the marketing side was all to the end of trying to get more people to understand my music. And the design side was all trying to make to make my brand look good so I looked more professional as a musician. Like all of it was like, I used to draw when I was a kid. Yeah, cool. Yeah. But like taking it seriously, I made party flyers. Like that's what I did. My first job was making party flyers for guys in the city who were throwing like grown and sexy parties in Detroit.
How old were you?
13, 14.
Wait, so you 13 out here making grown and sexy, get these draws flyers.
Oh yeah, for sure. And hair magazine spreads. And for anybody who doesn't know what a hair magazine is, like Ohio Trends and stuff like that. Like you go to Atlanta and they do like the hair shows.
Yep.
So I was doing spreads for $75 a piece. And that was how I made my summer money between that and my internship at the Free Press. So I would go to like 7 Mile and Schaefer with a guy named Billy Cason. Yep. He had a building out there, and I would sit down, we'd do spreads, and then I would leave there, get on a bus down Linwood to go to the Free Press downtown and work my Free Press job.
Man.
Yeah.
Design was always the hustle.
It was the hustle.
That's great. That would
wearing the right shirt for it. Yeah.
Word. So design was the hustle, but music was the passion. So, okay, got it. So fast forward. So you go to New York. You're like, yo, I'm gonna make it as a producer. What happens?
It's interesting. I had a couple of friends who went to high school. They weren't my friends at the time. Actually, I hated them when we were in high school. But they found me on Facebook when I was doing remix battles with a buddy of mine, Tay, who went off to be a bunch of other things. I haven't talked to him in a long time. But they found me and they had an artist, and they were interning at Atlantic Records and Warner Music Group. And they were like, yo, come with us. We're about to start this little label. I said, sure. You know, since y'all work at these big companies, I did that. And I rode with them for almost like 8 years.
Word.
Yeah, like they managed me. They ended up getting me in the rooms with like Dirty Money at one point. Like I'm just down there with like in the studio. I met DJ Mustard and like all these other guys who were trying to make music in Atlanta, because we would go we do these songwriter camps in Atlanta, and then we come back up here and try to make stuff, and then we go like all over the place. We almost got 3 or 4 record deals in that time. Some of them went through, some of them didn't. I got a publishing deal in that time. Ended up on BMG Chrysalis when Zach Katz used to run it. There was just a bunch of different things that we tried to get done at the time, and then we had a lot of success, a lot of failures, but like, yeah, that's what took it from me trying to make beats for myself to I'm a music producer. And then like literally, I think it was 18 or 19, I got my publishing deal. And it was like, oh, you're for real. You're legit now.
Word. Mm-hmm. Okay. It was crazy. I've known you long enough that I feel like I should know this story, and I had.
You never actually asked.
Shut up. Shut up. We didn't talked about stories.
Yeah.
Whatever. No, that's so we knew parts of that, but no, that's crazy that it was music had been this through line. So all right, so you get this publishing deal, you've been doing this, you're doing this label stuff with the friends and the homies, and then you fall into advertising. How does that happen? So you're in New York and going between New York, Detroit, Atlanta, advertising happens.
Yeah. So the one thing about me that you know, because you know me, I dislike the feeling of not moving forward. And that's with everything, with your career, with what you're doing with your career, with you monetarily, like fiscally, are you still moving forward? And there was a point, if you ever talk to any musician, where you're grinding, is what people like to call it. You got to put the hustle in, you got to grind, and I'm not a person who wants to categorize what I do every day as a grind. That's not how I work. I'm a video game nerd. Like there's a thing where you have to go into the forest and kill the tiniest monster to gain experience points over and over and over again. And like that level of farming is not my thing. I want to know what the goal is and to move forward. And there was a point where if you think of the music world as a ladder, I was missing reams in the ladder. I was like, I can see where I want to go, but there are places in between where my foot is and where my arm can reach that I can't go high enough to, and no one's giving me the answer to that. But on this other side, while all of y'all have been working on trying to make music and get record deals, people have been asking me to help them out with their stuff because they've seen like the website I made for my production stuff and all the things I had done on the side as a hustle because I was designing things as a hustle. And so me and an old partner of mine made a company. We called it Will Do. It was like a design shop. We ended up getting into all these accelerator programs because that's what was hot at the time. Detroit was going through its renaissance. Yeah. And all these people were coming and putting money into the pot. So I came back and started it with him. And all of a sudden now we're doing stuff for the DIA. And we're doing annual reports for Huntington National Bank and all these, these local projects. But like, me and him were decent designers. He's still a way better designer than me, by the way. Like, far better than me. But I was good at selling because that's all I did. You know what I mean? Like the big component in the whole process was that if you are a person who is trying to be in the music business, there's only two things you've got to really have. A rudimentary understanding of what people like in music today and the ability to stand in front of a group of people who don't want to give you no shine and shine by yourself. That's it. You know what I mean? Because A&Rs will sit in a room and go,
you didn't say talent.
No. Talent's not the number one.
You didn't say a look.
Nope. Doesn't matter.
What people like and the ability to sell.
The ability to sell. That's it.
It's real.
That's it.
That kind of sounds like a lot of business out here.
And that's why advertising worked. Because there was a point in our me and my partner's old business where I was able to go out and sell websites sight unseen. I can tell you what your business needs. I can tell you where the holes in your SEO are, what kind of different pieces that you need in the process. And as long as we had the people around us to fulfill the need,
right?
Like, and I understood the business need, I could sell it. And that's how we built that small company. For I think 4 years we ran the thing. Things happened between us. He went off and started a family, and that's when I went to New York full time because one of my clients asked me to go out there and help him build a part of his creative team for his agency that was in New York. And that's when advertising became the full-time gig.
Wow. Did you love it?
I guess if I had, and I'm glad this wasn't the case, but if I had gotten that same opportunity in Detroit, I probably wouldn't have lasted very long. Or I would have fallen into kind of the Detroit advertising industry trap. So you end up doing all these automotive things, and you get your clicks, and everybody kind of, and there's no shade to Detroit advertising. I think anybody who's worked here long enough kind of knows what I'm talking about. Yep. It's not bad. You can do a career, but if you look at the advertising industry as a whole,
it's a different game.
And people don't stay at the same shop as long as people do here. Like a lot of people I know have been in the same place for 15, 20 years. And it's like I had a hard time wanting to stay at one shop for more than 1.5, 2 years. And so you go to New York. I spent like 2 years there, freelance for a bit afterwards, freelance for a bit before. And New York just wasn't my vibe. I love the city. I love to be there. Living there, being a Midwest kid, it just didn't have enough space. No.
Interesting.
I just need space to do stuff, to be able to maneuver, to meet people in interesting and validating ways.
Yeah.
And everything there felt like a business transaction. I'll meet somebody, hey, let me get your number, blah, 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 blah. Let's talk, yada, 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 yada. And that's cool. I'm good at that. But I always use this kind of metaphor. I like to be able to walk in a bar and know everybody there.
So let's switch gears for a second, because, one of the things I admire about you, man, is, in the years that I've known you, you're a guy who can practically walk in almost any bar, and you probably see about at least 3 people. Like it's almost like you're regular everywhere. You're not, but
I know what you mean. Yeah,
you're present, and you've established these relationships. So one, what was it like building relationships over time? But two, I'm also really curious. Where did that interest in connecting with people, where did that come from?
So I'll answer the questions backwards. The interest came from understanding my own beginnings. So for me to go to New York and sit in this room with all these advertising people that have been in this business for all this time, everybody's like, oh, I went to school for this and I did this and all these things. And for me to go sit at a laptop and make what you need probably faster than you make what you need, because I learned through volume. You learn through practice. That's different. So my volumetric learning was based upon actual client needs. It wasn't based upon spec work in school or a teacher telling you something. I made work, whether you think it was valid advertising or not. I made a crap ton of work in a short amount of time. And you know who else works like that? Bartenders, service workers, people in hospitality. Like to become a chef isn't necessarily to go to school all the time. You can work on the line in the kitchen and be a better cook than your Le Cordon Bleu person after a few years working under people and serving a million dishes instead of a few. And I recognized that line very early. So I didn't go into bars to meet people. Like I went into bars to sit down. I'm gonna, hey, what's your name? Oh, I'm so-and-so. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Jay. Like, no, I have this, but like, hey, whenever you get a chance, no rush. I always tip 20, 25%, because I understood, like, those are the people making things, and I'm a maker. The owners are cool. You will meet the owners eventually in that process, but I knew everybody in the room because I'm meeting their friends. And the regulars who come to the bar are their friends too. And that's how you become a regular. It's not just only being there all the time. It's by kicking it with people.
Right.
I didn't look at them as service or hospitality people. I looked at them the same as I look at myself. We make stuff for people, and we have to deal with the same client problems. People coming in drunk or people drunk off of power. It's the same difference at the end of the day. So that's where the interest came from. How did I get good at it was through practice. It's just like, and meaning it.
Yeah.
People try to be friends with people for business and they don't mean it. So you get these kind of these superfluous highs and buys and how are the kids and yada, 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 yada. It's like, yeah, I might be here for a drink, but I'm actually really here to see my friends. And it's hard for people to understand that stuff. Like I cared what happened to you yesterday, and I cared when the pandemic happens and you are out of a job. I'm going to the bar. I'm like, yo, I want to stock up on my home bar, but I don't want to do this through normal means. So like, what kind of things do y'all have going on? You got carry outs. You got this. How can I support in the places I frequent the most? And that's the difference to me. And if you look at the broader sense of it, that's how you build community at the end of the day. And I feel like that's how I built mine.
Tell me about your community. Because I think that like what you just said, like the perspective of, we serve people. We make things and we serve people, and we do it in high volume. And these people can be really crazy sometimes.
Most
of the time, right? But it's real. And what's crazy is half the time, half of what I'm doing is helping you get crazy. It's either helping you get crazy or medicate the crazy that you're coming in with,
or substantiating your crazy.
Ooh, fact.
A lot of times people go in those situations and they really don't know what they're doing. They have a boss and their boss has a boss and they're trying to substantiate their jobs. And so a lot of times our job isn't to service the end user, which you think logically that's the thing. It's like, oh, we're making an ad and these people need to see it, so we need to make sure it's dope for these people. It's like, no. Actually, you have a key performance indicator that you need to hit so that your job's solidified. So I need to make you look good.
That's it. Or your boss has a bonus attached to what this thing does. Let me help you help your boss get that bonus so that you look good. Your boss is happy because he can go buy that new Maserati for people who have Maseratis out here.
You're a jerk. But yeah.
But no, that's absolutely right. It's interesting because it's all about service.
Yeah.
And it's hearing you talk about it. There's a through line of making things, serving people, and building community is like a thing. Yeah. So tell me about the community that surrounds you and that you've cultivated over these years, because you've been in a lot of different rooms.
Yeah. But the people who stayed, the people who stuck around, and the people who I value the most are people who have similar trajectories.
Okay.
And I don't mean like success trajectories. Yep. I mean, you understood the value of making things for people in whatever way that happens to be. And in that, you've taken that extremely serious. Those are the people that ended up staying around me the whole time, right? You know, I'll give you an example because you know some of these people.
Yep.
You know, do you know the way I met Eric? Eric Thomas?
How'd you meet Eric Thomas?
So Eric Thomas, who is now the chief storyteller of Detroit, which I still think is a made-up title.
A little bit.
But me and him made party flyers at the same place.
This makes sense.
So same thing so I worked for Billy Kayson, and Billy Kayson had a business that supported a different hair magazine, and Eric was working for Ohio Trends through a company that was called All Around Entertainment back in the day.
Okay.
So we were a bunch of very young people, probably too young to be working this place. Over at 4731 Gallery down off of
Grand River.
Yeah. So we were like, I think it was on the third floor. He had his computer, and I would come in there. The guy who ran it wanted to make a magazine, and he heard through the grapevine that I worked at the Free Press. So I came up there to help him make a magazine and do the spreads for this magazine he wanted to do, while Eric was doing party flyers. I think Eric was 15 and I was 14 or something like that, 16, 15, like a year apart kind of situation, teenagers. And yeah, that was literally how I met him. You fast forward, 10 plus now years?
Yeah.
And he's the chief storyteller of Detroit, and I'm the global creative director for Spotify's music marketing department. But the key pieces in between that are what I mean by trajectory. So he didn't finish school. I didn't finish school. He went and started a business because it was a necessity. I started a business because it was a necessity. Through that business, he had a lot of ups and downs, you know of. Same for me. Yep. You know, and in that process, he lost partners. I lost partners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I look at everybody else I know who is around. You look at Naila Ellis, who owns as Island Tea, and she started selling tea out the back of her truck in one of those big ass Gatorade things outside of Home Depot.
Right.
So when people came out with the sausages from Home Depot, she tried selling them a tea. Now she's got a multi-million-dollar raise with Kevin Hart and other people leading it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, just from keeping on the same thing. And it's those people who decided a long time ago that no matter what vertical I'm in, this is the push I want to have.
Right.
Not the grind.
The push.
It's the push I
like
want to put behind it. Yeah. Like, I know what type of work I'm comfortable doing and what type of repetition I deem valuable. It's not walking out and being like, I'm going to ask and I'm going to work and I'm going to work and I'm going to stay up all night. No, I sleep well. You know what I'm saying? like it's not about losing sleep. Like, it's about what are you comfortable doing over and over again, whether it works or not. 'Cause that's not grinding. That's a choice you made.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, all the people, Eric was cool having the same conversation, doing the same thing over and over again. He relished in it. Right. He still does it to this day, and that's how he got good at it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's, to me, is the thing. Like, when you call it a grind, it means you clearly don't like it. You don't like it.
Grind's hurt.
Grind's hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hustling is about sweat and tears and hurting yourself and not sleep. Like, who wants to do that? I'm not saying you don't have to work hard.
Yeah.
But if you calling it a hustle, is that what you want to do?
There's a different type of attitude. There's one thing to say the hustle of work. Like, I'm working hard. It's another thing to say I have a hustle. And they're very, 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 very different. Even down, like, both how you work at them and also the type of vision and intent you have behind it too. Like, is it going somewhere or not? Or is it just
going in circles?
Going in a circle, which, I mean, hey, if it's making you enough money and like you said, I'm happy to do this over and over and over again. All right, but where you going? And like I love what you said earlier. You talked about video games. You were a video game nerd, and you said you don't want to keep fighting the same farm battles and getting these little experience points. I think we had a conversation some time ago. You talked about this idea of looking for bosses. Man, I'd love to hear, like, what does it mean for you just finding new challenges and finding those bosses to conquer?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's ever played a video game kind of knows the game theory behind it. You start off at level 1, on level 1. That's your starting point. And everyone who plays a video game starts at that point, whether you know cheats, no matter whatever the case may be, everyone starts at level 1, first stage, right? And through that stage, the whole point of it is you're supposed to go through, and through the natural progression of things, there's like a baseline of experience you're going to get. But if you want to go ahead, get ahead of things, you stay in the place where the little enemies spawn over and over and over again. So you stay there, and instead of moving forward through the progression of the game, you farm. You go, I'm going to kill the weaker enemy, the highest of the weakest, that I can kill over and over and over again until I'm at a level that supersedes what I needed to be to get to level 2. Mm-hmm. The thing about me and the way I look at life and work in that sense is there's only so much good you're going to get from being very good at slaying your weakest enemy. Mm. There's only so much you're going to actually be able to accomplish with that. Yeah. You might technically on paper be a super, super high level person. But if all you've done is slay the same people over and over again, when you get to a boss, you'll be grossly underprepared. You might have all the health points in the world, right? You can get smacked around a bunch because you have this experience. But can you beat the boss? Like, have you prepared yourself to defeat the next thing? Probably not. You know, and that's the frustration as a gamer and as a person who's trying to get up in the corporate world. You have to know who the boss is and understand how to beat the boss. Once you understand how to beat the bosses, the farming is easier, and you're not really required to do it as much. There's always going to be the baseline of work to get from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 to stage 4. But if I'm prepared for the bosses, how much easier is it to fight all the smaller enemies to me? And so part of that is just knowing what battles to pick and not to pick. You know what I mean? I think early on, for people who had to do their own thing for a while, you just start to learn where in rooms it's valuable to spend your time. You know what I mean? I used to say I hate networking events. I hate them a lot. You know, I know people find a bunch of I know people start successful companies based all off of people they've met during network events. Right. So they're valuable to some people. Here's the thing about me that makes networking events hard for me to deal with. I don't care.
Say it again.
I don't care. I don't. Like, and this is going to sound harsh because I want people to care about the things I've got going on, right? Like, I don't care about your new business. I don't care about the other things you've got going on. I don't care about that. I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. We all came here to do two things. See one of the speakers that are on stage at some point and try to get in contact with them. All of the things in between are consolation prizes. I didn't come here to be your business consolation prize. To like, we trade off business cards. And you're like, man, one day I might hit you if for some strange reason I need this service. Like, no, like I came to meet the CEO of Blavity today. I didn't come here to meet every other business.
Shout out Morgan, right?
Yeah. You know, but at the end of the day, some people did come there to do that.
Right.
They tried to do a tertiary thing was, well, if I can't meet her, I'm going to try to meet you. And I want to figure out who the most important you is. Well, that's the thing I came here for in the beginning.
Yeah.
My whole point was never to meet Morgan. Like, my whole point was to find who the important people were. But I figured that out before I showed up. So it's not a networking event for me. I'm here to meet somebody.
Targeting.
I'm here to meet somebody.
Yeah.
I'm here to network.
Yeah.
When you take me network events, like, Jeff, like, who do you want to meet? I need you to meet Javier, who started a medical company. Or I need you to meet this web developer guy because I know you need to get this thing. This my man's. He has a booth there. Cool. Right. I'll go to meet your man's.
Right. It's intent-based. Yeah.
And so people go around trying to find people on their level.
Yep.
There's a bunch of people going around trying to kill those relationships. Hey, you're in my proximity. I'm like, no, I don't care. Like, I don't. I'm not, and I'm not of the mind I'm so important that I think I deserve to meet all the bosses. That's not the point. The point is I need to know what I need to deserve to meet you. And how do I do that? I ask.
Yeah.
If I have the opportunity, hey, listen, I've got this stuff going on. You may not be interested. But if you are at least interested enough to talk to me.
What would make you interested to have a real conversation with me? Yep. It's a really good question. People don't ask that. We just assume I've got we made eye contact. I have permission. It's not about permission or not having permission, but I've got green light now to dump.
Fire away.
And I don't know who you don't know me. I don't know you in real life. I know enough that I can find through research and LinkedIn and whatever other channels. I don't know what your day was like. I don't know if you have the capacity to handle whatever it is I'm sharing right now. And just, it's almost like courtesy to say, hey, how can I buy the next 5 minutes of your time?
Or not even the next 5 minutes.
5 minutes down the road.
Hey, listen, like, I know you've got a lot going on. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Frankly, I would love to talk to you. I have some things I'd love to talk to you about. I don't know if you're interested. Can I shoot you a message? It's 1 minute read to let you know what I've got going on if you're interested at all.
Fantastic.
That's it.
Some people will say no, but it's hard to say no to that.
Yeah, because it's so non-committal. I'm not asking you for help. I'm not asking for your phone number.
Nope.
I'm saying, hey, is there a way that I can just send you what I've got going on? It'll be less than a minute read. It's not even an elevator pitch. Hey, I own this kind of company. Like, you have resources that I would love to tap into. If you're at all interested, here's my URL. Here's my contact information. I have these days open in the next 2 weeks. If you've got 30 minutes to talk to me. If you never hear back from them again,
okay,
great, cool. Most of the time, you at least get the opportunity to send. And most of the time, they'll say yay or nay. And then you go from there. You know what I mean? Because they didn't get in a position they got into not talking to anybody.
Right. It's funny. A lot of people look at a move like that and say it's risky. Like, I would argue that it's more risky to not consider the other person. But you can debate that making a shot like that, shooting a shot like that is either ballsy or it's a mistake. So I'm going to take you back as you look over your career for the last 15 years, because your career started really young. Mm-hmm. Biggest mistake you've made?
Oh, that's always easy.
Ooh. All right, answer this. I'm going to say biggest mistake in your career, and I'm going to take you a step or two out and say biggest mistake ever.
Ever. Okay.
They may be the same thing, but
no, not even. Yeah. The biggest mistake in my career, well, also depends on what career you're talking about. I'll give you the one that I regret the most, if you call it regret. It ended up working out, but I early on in my music career allowed my management to hold all of the context. I didn't work as myself in those situations. I was brought in by Ben, or I was brought in by Brandon, and I come in and do my job, and I would expect that relationship to grow from there. And it was kind of a young naivety at the end of the time. It was like, hey, I know this person.
Right.
You don't know this person. They know this person, and they might not stay in contact with this person. So I've done all these things in rooms with these producers who had huge records. A guy named Great Scott, I got it. The other people I've been in the room with, all these people, Poppin' Oak, and the people who've made hit records, right? I don't have a phone number. I don't have an email because I was managed.
Right.
And so the biggest thing that I regret in that time was not understanding, and this is a cliche now, but your net worth is really your network. Mm-hmm. And if you actually provided value to anyone, making the music with them or giving them a beat or whatever the case may be, you have a real reason now to add them to the group of people you could stay in contact with.
Right.
If I were to have done that, I think I probably would have had more success in the music industry, despite being signed and helping people get deals and all that stuff.
Right.
If I was just able to call someone and ask them a question who wasn't my direct management or who signed me or something like that, I probably would have been better off.
That makes sense.
My biggest mistake, period, in that has nothing to do with music or anything. And once again, it worked out, but I think I should have stayed in New York longer. And it's
That's biggest life mistake.
yeah.
Wow.
I think if I look back at it, I needed to be more comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think I got the opportunity. I got bailed out.
Okay.
So Huge, which was an agency in Brooklyn, was deciding to open the Detroit office. Here's the thing. I jumped no parachute. I left my job in New York and was just going to go to LA and try to be a musician again. So I didn't have another job. I wasn't planning on staying in advertising. I quit and was like, I'm going to do something else. And in the middle of deciding to do something else, I got a call from a recruiter from Huge. It was like, wait, try it back at home again. So we'll pay you this New York wage to move back to Detroit to help us open up this office. You'll start in Brooklyn office and you go there. I said, sure.
Yeah, you gonna pay me New York wage in Detroit?
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was my biggest mistake that I got bailed out from. If that didn't happen, none of the stuff, we wouldn't be talking here right now.
That's true. It's crazy, isn't it? Like those itty-bitty decisions that all of a sudden shift trajectories. And now, since then, Huge happened. You did some work with some other cool agencies, and now you are literally sitting as a global creative director at Spotify, working in the intersection of music and advertising.
Full circle moment.
Crazy. And literally working with some of the biggest artists in the game. And your hat's dope.
Yeah, which I just got. I don't know if the camera see that. It's hard. Yeah.
Man, that's actually really, really dope. So your journey started young. And here you are. You're not old yet, fortunately.
No, yeah. Thank the Lord.
You got that one gray hair.
I'm loving it. I want it. Salt and pepper. Shake me up like I'm good. I'm good.
You said I want all the smoke. Literally, give me the smoke in my beard. Smoke.
Yeah.
So I ask every guest this. Today is the youngest. Right now, in fact, this moment right now is the youngest you'll ever be again.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want to be when you grow up?
I would love it if by the time I actually do feel old, that people look at me as the opportunity. Like everything that I'm doing right now is in service of one day being someone else's opportunity. Because frankly, I've gotten too many bailouts. I feel like I'm the result of a lot of old white guys wanting to help a black guy out.
Yeah.
Like frankly, like I am one of the luckier recipients. And I'm not saying you need to have that, but I'm one of those guys who started my own thing and the old white guy goes, you're better than that, right? And I'm like, what? And it's funny because in that regard, there weren't a lot of black people who told me that at the time.
Interesting.
Like, oh, you're good where you are because you're helping me out. You're great at doing this thing. And to have an old guy from New York come down, it's like, I remember this verbatim, a guy named Kirk. Like, he did me a real solid. I was working for something he was doing here. He had like a journalism program he had built here for Southwest Detroit. And he pulled me to the side after doing some crazy turnaround project for him. He's like, yo, like, have you ever thought about leaving here? And I was like, no, not really. And he literally went, you have second city syndrome. And a lot of people from Detroit feel like they owe Detroit something. Like you're supposed to stay here and do something. I was like, I don't feel like that at all. I just never really wanted to go anywhere else like that. He goes, can I show you? And I was like, no. I told him no 3 times. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like he had to have his CCO call me on the phone and like explain to me what he wanted me to do. And me and him are still friends. Like me, all of us are cool dudes. But it was one of those situations where I look at it and I go, man, I would have loved if that was a different way of getting into it. You know what I mean? Because and that's the problem that I have with telling my story sometimes. Like I don't take away from my work at all. But the reams in between that I talk about where I couldn't reach up, it always needed somebody else to go, hey, now climb. And so for every other young black kid in the situation I was in, where you have the world in front of you, you're actually better than 90% of people who have the job that you don't even know you want yet. You're better. I walked in there and after years of making flyers and websites and stuff for people, I'm walking into situations like, well, why doesn't Eric's Technologies do this for their website? And he goes, You want to pitch it? It's $1 billion company. And I'm just talking to this British CEO, like, yeah, man, that's stupid. You should do this, blah, 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 blah. He guy's like, you're right. Well, yeah. And so from there, they went from a $4 billion company to an $8 billion company. And like B2C solutions, well, B2B solutions got better. And we talked about some different touch points and all that stuff because I understood who he was trying to sell it to. He was trying to sell it to my cousins, like who don't have this and don't have that, and businesses that I had done work for before, and I understood what those needs were, and all these different bits and pieces that I had learned through running my own company that made sense. And so I say, and when I grow up, instead of it being an old white dude from New York who is the arm that reaches and tells a guy to climb, I want to be me. I want to sit there and go like, yo, like, no, you're dope. Come here. Now go. And let's not talk anymore. Like, call me after you've climbed some more. But yeah, that move is important to me.
That's a big deal. That's what we've had some good answers so far. That's a good one. And I like how you pull the full circle with the analogy that the ladder. So it made me think about building a ladder. You know, basically you got 2 sticks and some reams in between. It's real hard to build a ladder like without building a ladder first and then laying up against the wall. Like try building a ladder while trying to climb it at the same time. Like, it just seems like a death wish.
It is.
Unless you got somebody who can come down and say, wait, no, you need to grab this. In fact, not only is this what you need to grab, this is what you can grab that also keeps this ladder stable. Because I could put this here and you grab it, next thing you know, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah. And for most people, the people at the bottom of the ladder making sure it doesn't sway are your family. Right? Your family and friends. But they don't know how to tell you how to climb at the bottom holding the ladder. You know, so you know, you talk about people from our kind of neighborhoods who, you know, my parents were middle class, but they don't know how to do the stuff I wanted to do. Nope. You know what I mean? Like they were like, oh, I don't know about the music industry, and I don't know, this seems silly and all this kind of stuff. So, but they're holding the ladder at the bottom, make sure at the very least I don't fall off.
Right. But
they can't tell you how to climb it. You know, and so I needed somebody to reach down and help and pull me up.
If you had to thank 3 people, you know, who were able to reach down and help pull you up, who would they be?
Kirk is one of them for sure. Yeah, I like the whole New York move was something that changed the entire trajectory of my life. The other 2 are hard because there are a lot of people. Honestly, Willie, who was my partner when I started my company.
First company?
The first company. Yeah, I don't think that would have ever worked, and I would have stayed in the business if it wasn't for him. He was the guy with the talent. I could just talk. I was okay at Photoshop. Like he was way better than me. He was less of a pull up and more of a push.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like me and him were in the same place. He was like, "Well, you go first," kind of situation. It was interesting. That last one's hard because there's a bunch. There's Eric Weisberg, who gave me my job at Donor. There are recruiters who have called me out of nowhere. Danny Lennon, who got me the job at Spotify. She's not even a recruiter. She's just an important person who calls people for things. There's a bunch of people, but the third one is kind of like, I almost want to give a general the shot.
Do it.
Too. Yeah. Like the first 2 were people who had like a personal thing for me. Like it convinced me of something. The last one is almost a bucket of personal validation. You know, after all of that, I deserved to get called by you. I deserved for you to take a shot on me. I no longer feel like you're doing me a favor. The rest of the pull up or me going, hey, are you gonna come down or what? It felt different. There's a certain part on the ladder where I'm not asking you for help. Yeah. I'm telling you I should be the person, regardless of how we got to that conversation. You know,
we're here now. We're at the table.
Yeah.
So, as you're pushing to become the opportunity, what are this might be the last question. What are the things that you're doing to become that opportunity? And how can we, our viewers and listeners, support you in your journey?
The ways I'm doing it is while serving the bigger company. Gotta keep the lights on. You know what I mean? Like, I am trying to hire in and bring in more people of color into these businesses. People who would or people who just would be unaware or unable to substantiate their claim to working at a place. Because it's the whole you need ID to get ID thing. It's less about you being, like, once again, it's less about you being talented.
Yep.
You're a bunch of talented people. But it's one thing that a guy here told me a long time ago, and he quoted it from someone else. He says, let me try to get this right. There is no more abundant of a human resource than talented, unsuccessful people. Like, no more. That's the most abundant human resource we have. And I thought to myself, like, oh.
That face.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. And so, how do we convert talent into viability? And in that is the journey that I'm trying to be on. And so my company that I'm doing kind of as a side gig now, the whole method and mantra is to support artists of all shapes, forms, and points in their career and getting opportunities that can help them make a living off of music. Mm-hmm. And so sync licensing, brand management, placing bands in ads and in films, everything for the sake of trying to make sure that what you're trying to do for your craft, you get the opportunity to see the same thing I saw. Mm. That there are other parts of the industry that are more viable to you as a person than trying to be the next Rihanna. Right. Even Rihanna is not trying to be the next Rihanna anymore.
I'm trying to get this money.
She's out here doing Fenty, and you look at Ivy Park, and you look at Jay-Z just bought a majority share or something in Moet Hennessy or something like that.
They bought half
Ace of Spades, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. You see the moves, and you think you have to be this person at this level to do that. It's like, no, you can make $2,000 right now for a beat sitting on your computer, not sending it to a rapper, but having it in the next Kellogg's commercial for some cereal. You can be a social media advocate for yourself and build an entire brand, talking about how to build a brand, how to be a musician. The method is wide open now. Yeah. I want to be the person who to be able to amplify those willing to take it.
Dope. So how can we support you in the things you're working on as you continue to push to be better and help others do the same?
One, I guess one of the bigger things is we're always looking for new media opportunities to help put people in. You know, and so if you lead a brand, if you have a social media brand where you need music or influencers and content, you know, if you need to spread your audience in any sort of way, we've got a bunch of people who can help you do that. You know, if you are a content creator or a creator in general who wants to amplify that work and get out to more brands, I'd love to talk to you and see where you are in your career. You know, to me, the connection between the two is the one I'm trying to be a conduit for. And so no matter what side you're on, I'd love to know you so I could show you the person on the other side of the fence who would love to know you back.
That's so dope, bro. Man, so Jay, I appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
You took a whole lot of time out of your day to have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure my phone's in my car. I'm sure people are yelling at me right now.
That's okay. I mean, but
I'm sure.
Well, but here's the cool thing. If you let them yell at you, you might get a couple more grays.
Yeah. Oh, that might be the key. Stress myself out. Let's do it.
That's exactly what we're trying to avoid. No more grinds, right?
Yeah.
Pushes, not grinds. But man, thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Love you, man. This is the podcast, bro.
This is dope, by the way.
Yeah.
And I got a hat out of the deal, so I'm all.
You got to pay for that hat.
I'm going to pay for that hat. I'm not expected to be free, but
you got a dope hat, bro.
I got a dope hat out of the deal. Didn't know this existed. Yeah.
Oh, we'll talk more about this. This is good.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much, man. You've been tuned in to Becoming Better with Jeff Ponders. Special thank you to our guests for this episode and to our partners Mammoth Studios and the Cochran House. We appreciate you for joining us on this journey toward a better life from the inside out. See you soon.